the best treatment for that we know exists is to do gender confirmation via hormones. And
you know that doesn't affect the suicide rate. The suicide rate for trans people is very high, post-op and pre-op. Really doesn't get affected by whether or not you treat them.
Well, the operation, one misconception is,
why is that? Is that because they're not accepted by society and we're not more loving? Could it be underlying issues that are causing them to feel this way in the first place? Like, what is it? We don't know, and I'm sure it varies.
It's been a long stretch since the last release, but we're returning with a blazing new lineup. This time, Joe Rogan pushes back hard on guests who bring lofty or untested ideas onto the show. The tension ramps up fast, the awkward pauses grow heavier, and the atmosphere turns sharp as everyone tries to keep their footing.
Look, so all I can do is defer to the experts that I know about this, right?
The verbal clashes land immediately, so we're diving straight into the chaos. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Our first guest is actor and writer Adam Conover, who quickly finds himself in a tough spot. When your views don't quite line up with reality, the conversation stalls, your confidence wavers, and you start wondering why you agreed to appear.
To add hormones to a child's body, that's a choice.
It's a choice blockers. It's a choice on the part of the parent. It's not a choice on the part of the child to in the same way that being gay isn't a choice. Yeah.
Okay, but if that's who they are, if they think that they're a girl, why do you have to give them hormones to make them more of a girl?
Because I'm sorry, can you expand on the question?
Adam Conover sticks closely to his talking points about kids and transitioning until Rogan asks a question that redirects the entire conversation. Suddenly, Adam pauses, trying to sort out how to respond. He acknowledges he isn't an expert, yet still speaks confidently about medical options, which creates an uneasy contrast. When Rogan pushes past the rehearsed lines and asks for deeper reasoning, Adam's tone shifts, his certainty fading as he moves into careful, guarded replies. It's a familiar pattern. Confidence holds until genuine scrutiny appears. The whole exchange raises a broader question, whether discussions like these are less about winning arguments and more about genuinely understanding the psychological, social, and emotional factors that shape such complex topics.
You say that the child thinks it's a girl, so you're going to give the child hormones.
Mm-hmm.
If the child thinks it's a girl, let it be a girl. Like, you don't have, why are you adding hormones? If you're shooting hormones into a child and you're affecting the child's development, you're saying that's not a choice. That's nonsense. Of course it's a choice. You're choosing to chemically change this child's body. You're choosing to inject things into this child's body on a regular basis that are going to radically affect the physical development of their body.
Yeah.
And you're saying that this isn't a choice. Well, it's definitely a choice to do that.
So what trans people express, and again, I'm not an expert. This is from me talking to my trans friends and seeing what other trans...
All the back and forth leaves audiences more confused than convinced, especially considering how significant the topic is for young people. Emotional support and careful guidance should be the first step for anyone still developing their identity and understanding their feelings. Yet even suggesting counseling has become contentious in today's polarized environment. What used to be straightforward, thoughtful caution is suddenly seen as controversial. Rogan presses further, citing research and viewpoints presented by critics who argue that gender-affirming surgeries may not produce the mental health improvements some expect, prompting a deeper debate about what truly helps individuals in distress and how such decisions should be approached responsibly.
Child thinks it's a girl, so you're going to give the child hormones.
Mm-hmm.
If the child thinks it's a girl, let it be a girl. Like, you don't have, why are you adding hormones? If you're shooting hormones into a child and you're affecting the child's development, you're saying that's not a choice. That's nonsense. Of course it's a choice. You're choosing to chemically change this child's body. You're choosing to inject things into this child's body on a regular basis that are going to radically affect the physical development of their body.
Yeah.
And you're saying that this isn't a choice. Well, it's definitely a choice to do that.
So what trans people express, and again, I'm not an expert. This is from me talking to my trans friends and seeing what...
Some long-term studies discussed by critics claim the outcomes of major medical interventions are mixed, with some suggesting emotional challenges may persist or even intensify afterward. This led the conversation to shift toward the deeper psychological and emotional dimensions of the issue. Adam Conover gradually stepped back, appearing unsettled by the pushback. He entered the discussion prepared with polished lines and confidence, But Rogan's pointed questions and alternative interpretations quickly changed the tone. It's a recurring dynamic, strong certainty at the start, then hesitation when detailed questions arise. The moment highlighted how relying on popular talking points without fully engaging with the underlying complexities can easily create confusion or misunderstanding.
If you say that the child thinks it's a girl, so you're going to give the child hormones. If the child thinks it's a girl, let it be a girl. Like, you don't have, why are you adding hormones? If you're shooting hormones into a child and you're affecting the child's development, you're saying that's not a choice. That's nonsense. Of course it's a choice. You're choosing to chemically change this child's body. You're choosing to inject things into this child's body on a regular basis that are going to radically affect the physical development of their body. And you're saying that this isn't a choice. Well, it's definitely a choice to do that.
This exchange made that point unmistakably. Kids change their minds constantly because that's simply part of growing up. One day they want to explore space, the next they imagine caring for animals. Today it's ice cream, tomorrow it's pizza. Their thoughts shift fast and their feelings evolve just as quickly. That's normal. But allowing children to make major, irreversible choices that could shape the rest of their lives isn't just risky, it's unwise. There's a reason society doesn't let kids sign legal contracts, get permanent tattoos, drink alcohol, or vote. They don't yet have the life experience to grasp long-term consequences. So why should medical decisions with lasting impact be treated any differently?
I would say, like, hey man, I just got to bone up on, on that particular, because I don't want to speak to suicide rates.
My entire concern is with children. My concern is not with young adults deciding to take steps to confirm their gender identity, who they feel. As you grow and mature and develop, you growing out of these ideas. Some will and some won't. And the ones who won't, they always have the option to do something later on in life. But if you do something to hormonally block a child very, very early on, there's no turning.
And yet the debate continues as if these decisions require less caution. Kids need guidance, not confusion, and adults are meant to provide direction, not simply agree with every passing impulse. Following social trends without deeper thought can create real risks that shape a child's future. When Rogan pressed Adam Conover about hormone blockers, Conover quickly shifted away from the subject. Children change their minds all the time, it's part of being young. One day they dream of becoming astronauts, the next they imagine working with animals. Ice cream now, pizza later. None of it is their fault. Their minds are still developing and they're just beginning to understand the world. And because of that, letting them make major choices that could shape their lives demands far more care.
It's a good question. I think we're really going to go through like a cultural change on how we think about that, and it's morphing so quickly. You know what I mean? I'm very much, because I am of this opinion that there is no such thing as like perfect fairness. And when we make those distinctions, we're always choosing who to allow. And because I think we should choose to allow like trans people to participate in society.
Allowing children to make such major decisions isn't just risky, it's unwise. There's a reason young people can't sign legal documents, get tattoos, drink, or vote. They lack the life experience needed to understand long-term consequences. So why should children be expected to make medical choices that can permanently affect their bodies, emotional well-being, and physical health for years to come? Kids need clarity and steady guidance, not confusion or pressure. Adults should support them, help them grow, and think carefully before agreeing with impulses shaped by trends or social expectations. Ignoring that responsibility can place a child's future at real risk. When Rogan questioned Adam Conover directly about hormone blockers, Conover moved off the topic almost immediately. Rogan then shifted to another argument raised by critics regarding athletics, noting viewpoints that emphasize biological advantages typically seen in males, such as greater lung capacity, bone density, and muscle mass, even after hormone therapy.
There's a reason why we make the distinction to have male athletics versus female athletics. The reason is that males have a physiological advantage over women. So in most sports, most physical sports, we do not have males compete with females. Do those same physiological advantages apply? And what is the evidence? Well, the evidence in competition seems to be that it shows that it does apply, particularly in weightlifting, rugby, mountain biking, power heavy sports that favor larger people, stronger bodies. Males that transition to females have a significant advantage in their brain.
These arguments are often used to claim that transgender women who were assigned male at birth may retain physical advantages over cisgender women in sports. Yet some prioritize ideology over biology, insisting that acknowledging such differences undermines inclusion. The result, critics argue, is that female athletes who train for years risk losing opportunities, scholarships, and recognition. That isn't progress, it feels like a reversal. In sports, fairness is meant to rest on measurable factors, not emotional reactions. Outrage doesn't change physical reality. Up next is comedian Pete Dominic, who presents another provocative idea, banning guns outright. While it may sound appealing in theory, the concept tends to fall apart when examined closely. Criminals often ignore laws, so banning guns wouldn't make them disappear. Instead, offenders could remain armed while law-abiding citizens end up defenseless.
About what kind of guns and bullets people can have. Not that they can have them or that they can't have. That's the conversation. That's where we should be right now. Everything gets regulated. Everything. There are trade-offs in healthcare. There are trade-offs in everything. But Americans now are so divided. They want everything that they want. That compromise is something that we don't do as Americans, much less in government.
History shows that banning something rarely eliminates it. Drugs remain common despite strict laws, and alcohol didn't vanish during Prohibition. It simply fueled a thriving black market. Critics argue the same dynamic would apply to firearms. Removing them could actually make crime harder to control by leaving dangerous individuals armed while responsible citizens lose protection. Rogan broadened the discussion by highlighting the scale of the issue. Even if the government attempted a national gun buyback, the challenge would be enormous. With well over 400 million privately owned guns in the US, the cost could reach into the billions or even trillions. And despite the expense, there's no guarantee such a plan would succeed.
And about the gun thing, the most fucked up part about the messiness of the gun thing is that even if you made guns illegal, even if you said you can't have any bullets, you'll all go to jail. There's so many guns. You're not getting them all. It's not possible. There's more guns than there are people, which means there's more than 330 million.
Many gun owners who strongly value the Second Amendment simply wouldn't comply. Some would hide their firearms, others might sell them illegally, creating an even larger black market. So while the proposal may sound idealistic, critics argue it's unrealistic, expensive, and unlikely to solve the problem. Then the conversation shifted to cancel culture. The people involved have no direct link to Rogan, they're more like outside participants. Flint Dibble led efforts to criticize and remove Graham Hancock after accusing him of promoting harmful ideas. But later, Flint seemed to deny ever making the claim. That is, until Rogan presented the evidence, revealing a clear contradiction between the accusation and the attempted denial.
You are associating me with this, and you are attempting to get me
I'm asking
cancelled
you to
effectively.
distance yourself from that. Is actually what I'm trying to do.
That's not what you're doing.
I do not
You don't
see this as
think that?
propaganda.
Look at the way it's phrased on your article. This sort of race science is outdated and long since debunked, especially given the strong links between Atlantis and Aryans proposed by several Nazi archaeologists. That's like a part of the headline.
You want me to show you some tweets I've gotten from people that are fans of Graham Hancock?
No. Listen, stop. Don't do that. They're not connected to him. They're just...
The evidence matched Flint's original statement exactly, leaving no room for reinterpretation. These weren't guesses or rumors, but documented remarks that directly aligned with what Rogan showed. Flint couldn't revise the story without contradicting himself. What once appeared to be justified outrage suddenly resembled a case of rewriting history. Cancel culture often works this way. Accusations are made loudly, but accountability becomes elusive. Rogan ensured the record was clear and the facts remained intact. That concludes today's breakdown. If you found this coverage engaging, be sure to hit like and subscribe for more content just like this.